I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast, it's our second bear episode. We just had Mac and Micah tell us about their bear experience, and when they were wrapping up, you were still out in the field, I think, Adam, and we want to hear about your story now.
Well, great, Luke. Happy to be here in the office and not out in the backcountry with a few animals. When I say animals, I don't mean the bears.
Yeah, like the bears. You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
So you went to Idaho with a couple of our partners.
Yeah.
Ryan Lampers and Brian Call on the Gritty channel on YouTube.
Yep. And I think Ryan's a stealthy hunter.
Yeah, the stealthy, ST healthy hunter.
Uh-huh.
He is a healthy dude.
He is. Yeah, I actually learned a ton on this trip, actually, about how healthy he is. Like, I mean, his gardens and chickens and he just, I'd bust out some freeze-dried junk and boil it up in the tent, and then he's just like, yes, I just got this new freeze dryer. I'm working on my dehydrated meals, and I just freeze-dried these farm-fresh eggs from our chickens along with this meat that's ours, and then from my garden, all these vegetables, and like all his snacks all day. I'm busting out just whatever, the Sportsman's Warehouse branded jerky that I got on the way out of town, and I mean, all his meats, all his things is like, it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the real deal. Call is too, but I mean, Ryan.
Brian Call ate a lot of the same way, as Ryan. I mean, Ryan's just next level when it comes to that healthy stuff, and his wife's a doctor, and like they're just, and apparently it helps because those guys can manhandle the mountains.
Yeah. Well, give us the rundown. You're in Idaho, and how did it start?
Yeah. Well, I flew up to Montana. My plane, it's always fun. I love flying my plane, so getting somewhere there with coolers and guns and stuff like that. So we met up in Montana with Brian and Ryan, and they have a trailer, this enclosed trailer that Brian has. And my sister lives in Montana. It was fun. Got to do lunch with them on the way up there. But he's got this enclosed trailer. They were leaving essentially for 20 days of bear hunting, 10 days in Idaho and 10 days in Montana, deep in the backcountry. So they, like literally months ahead, were doing meal prep. And I mean, the way they have, it was like a well-oiled machine. Like, I mean, it's like they were a black belt in like lean hunting preparation.
lean backcountry prep.
All their Yetis and their coolers and the sliders in the back of the truck and everything in there was like, we are meaning business for weeks deep in the backcountry. And so this trailer was like, I just brought my backpack, so I just show up with my backpack, and they got this
bags
stuff.
of Sportsman's Warehouse, like random stuff.
Right, fresh can of jet boil, fuel, and whatever. And these guys so they have their stuff when, if they base station kind of out of this, trailer, and just, I mean, it was legit. So, anyways, drove a ways down into Idaho, in gnarly, steep country. They say if you were to flatten out Idaho, it has more surface area than Texas. And when you're there,
bold claim.
I would say it's 3 times the size of the Earth. Because man, it is
steep country.
Steep country.
No doubt.
Yeah. So we weaved down into there, and then we met up with the third individual, Brad Hunt, who came along primarily to film. He had some tags, so they each had a couple tags. I had a tag. I think we had 7 tags between the 4 of us. To head into the backcountry of Idaho for a spot and stock bear hunt.
So I've got to add a little bit here because Adam, you're like I consider you a very fit guy. Like,
Well, thanks, Luke.
I run occasionally at lunch. You like run or swim or do something like almost every day. And I remember leading up to
Swam this morning.
Swam, perfect. I remember leading up to this, you're like, I'm a little bit nervous. These guys are pretty serious about this, and we're going to cover some ground, and I'm a little bit nervous. Not so much about my fitness level, but just going that far with weight on the pack.
Sure.
Which is different for sure.
By far.
But so first day, how far did you guys go in, and were you concerned at that point yet?
It wasn't the mileage, and being a kind of former triathlete and doing a lot of endurance stuff. I can go a lot of miles. I weigh $157, and I'm not incredibly strong. I can go real far. So I told Ryan ahead of time. It was funny. I said, "Look, here's my excuses, and then you won't hear them again." So I go all day. I can put on as many miles as you want. I mean, I did a lot of 15-mile days during elk season this year, and I can go far. But weight is what can get me. I just can't put on my back what I used to be able to, and the age is getting up there as well. But so it's the weight, and then I got my ankle issue that I'm constantly facing, and probably need surgery. Well, I know I do, and I've been avoiding it. So I'm like, those are going to be my issues. The really what it was, like first day we weren't that many miles, but what ends up happening, and you're hunting along a lot of rivers, when you're in Idaho, and so it's a steep V. And you're hiking up on one side and you're glassing the other, and you got river crossings. And several times we did 1,000-foot climb miles. A lot of times more than 1,000 feet in a mile. At one point, on the binos, you can, with the rangefinders and stuff, you can get the angle of slope. And we went up one gnarly hill. And this was with weight because, especially the way these guys like to hunt, I tend to, because I don't like to pack a lot of weight around. I go in there as far as I can. And I set up a camp in there, far. And then I make sure I could probably just kind of get back there so I don't have to carry everything all day. Well, no.
Yeah, no.
No. These guys, we're going to just climb this really steep face.
See what happens.
And there's no water usually at the top of mountains. They're usually at the bottom.
Usually, yeah.
So let's all just pack up on water, and let's take...
So more weight, great.
Take all the stuff, plus some other stuff.
Yep, all the things up there. And so, what do we want to leave at the bottom? Well, you never know what we're going to see over that ridge. So there was a lot of that. And because they don't care, they just want to go where bears are, you have 55 pounds on your back. And at one point, there was one we measured, it was a 39-degree slope. Ooh. Which means you can't even use your trekking poles because you'd have to put them down to an inch long when you're going up. So literally, you're grabbing earth and going up that. So like the Stairmaster 1000, it was like the Stairmaster like 10 million, so you'd pack 55 pounds on your back, you're going up 39-degree slopes. So for me, it's because I do a ton of cardio and I live for that. I can hike a lot and run, swim, bike. The cardio didn't get me the whole trip. Muscle burn in all areas of the body, which, I've had before, I've packed in a lot, was definitely real. The old hip flexors.
Oh yeah,
the
feeling
old
that.
Quadriceps. They were roasted. So it was after the first day, I was like, okay, this is gonna be. And I knew probably going into this, I'm kind of old and set in my ways, and I just feel good when I do stuff, and I just don't do a lot of weight stuff, and I know I should, or even more body weight stuff. And this trip, it wasn't but a day into it. I was like, yep. About those squats.
Yeah, should have not skipped leg day.
Yeah. So so we ended up on the top of peaks, really just doing a lot of glassing and just a ton of looking, and kind of the idea was let's just get in further and get in further and kind of keep looking. We saw nobody in there the
whole time.
Several days we were there. Correct. Not from the trailhead.
Sure.
You see people driving on the dirt roads, but once we were actually hunting and had the packs on, didn't see a person.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's real. So I'm not going to tell anybody where we went. But but it was, beautiful, beautiful country. It took a while to kind of settle in and figure out how we were going to hunt the ground. And this was some new area that they were even checking out as well. And so, we knew it was going to be good bear country.
So none of you had been to this exact spot before, just on X.
Yeah, we'd hunted, miles away because,
virtual scouting.
In the Idaho wilderness, often you don't have to travel far as the crow flies or as a pin drops to get to somewhere else. We're outside the wilderness, but in national forest. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So first day is just getting in, set up. Like, are you actively hunting? You
Oh
see any
yeah.
bears?
Oh yeah. We saw no bears the first day. We got up real high, where we could just see for miles in
Right.
all sorts of directions, and just glassed and glassed and glassed. And then we'd kind of go, yeah, we should probably get higher. We should probably get higher. We should probably get higher. One of the issues we faced was pretty much kind of down by the river. It was just the V. It's such a hard V. It's like the river,
And
then just thousands of feet of incline.
Right.
And so finding level spots to end up placing our tents were difficult. So we glassed all day, saw no bears. Trying to think, yeah, I do not believe we saw a bear, the bears, on the first day. So we made it up high pretty early, but saw nothing. So we kind of knew at that point, we're like, man, let's get in further, because we knew in order to do that we'd have to get in further. So I kind of scouted out at the end of the day, tried to just hike around and scout out a spot kind of level enough. We ended up being good excavators where we'd get rocks and kind of dig out a spot the size of your thermarest, so you could not roll down the hill, and ended up sleeping up on the top of the mountain that night.
You slept on the steep stuff.
Every time. Yeah, slept on the steep stuff and packed our water up and had enough to get us through morning and stuff like that. So
Wow.
yeah,
So first day, no bears.
no bears.
Second day, still no bears? What happened second day?
Saw bears.
No bears.
Saw bears. Hiking along, went to a cool waterfall, just kind of neat. Just kind of, so much steep country, and there's just kind of little waterfalls everywhere coming off these kind of just runoffs and little tributaries, little things kind of running into the rivers and stuff. So that was pretty cool. I remember we'd been hiking for quite a while, and we kind of stopped at this waterfall for a half hour to an hour. We could actually still kind of glass from it. We were kind of up high in the middle of the mountain, and it was like we got under, kind of on the backside of it, there's kind of just a cool cave, and it was hot. The interesting thing about the Idaho backcountry, coming here from Sheridan, where we're at like 4,000 feet, and you only go up from here. I mean, you start, well below 2,000 feet in a lot of those areas, and then get up higher. So you're not that high. So, and it was a warm spell. So we were just, we got in this cave kind of behind this waterfall. We're glassing, taking pictures. It was pretty cool. But
Sounds awesome.
then we hiked.
Last of the Mohicans moment there.
We hiked away from there and ended up on the other side of the river, spotting our first bear on afternoon of day 2.
Okay.
And figured out after a while it was a shooter. It was a good bear.
So what's the shooting order? Had y'all determined, like,
Well,
Adam shoots
so
first?
their thing is you spot it, you got it.
You spot it, you got it.
So
I like it.
Ryan spotted this bear as we were hiking. So didn't even stop to glass. Just
Bear. I'll go get it.
a jet black bear on the other side of the river, out of what he was comfortable shooting with, obviously. And so it was one of those situations where we watched it for a long time. Really found out, is this a good mature bear? And it was. It was definitely.
So
a
you're
good mature
watching
bear.
it, trying to put a strategy, like how can we close the distance?
Right. So the way to
And
close
is it
the
worth it
distance is to go down the slide of the hill, figure out how to cross a rushing river, and then ascend the other side of the mountain and not bust him out of his area. Super easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem.
So he was as good as dead at that point. This bear.
Pretty much. Yeah.
No. So
you're telling me there's a chance?
So we ended up deciding, let's try to go kill this bear.
Yeah.
So we went down a very, very steep hill with a lot of brush and rocks, and got down alive, just about barely. Got across the river, started going up, and in just gnarly terrain. That's actually where we encountered the 39-degree slope, and so we're heading up and trying to beat dark, and thought we knew kind of where this bear was feeding. And so we ended up getting there just before dark, and so this was hours and hours after we'd seen the bear. And we got up there and ended up semi-busting the bear.
Semi-bust.
Well, saw the bear pretty close, and I was actually kind of over to the right. I was traveling up another little area, and so I was 50 yards away.
Right.
They saw him. I was kind of behind him over to this other side, and so I actually did not see him. But Ryan went to get his gun, come put down, and the bear vanished. Wind was in our favor, so we don't know if he just kind of fed up and over, and then we were up now on the side of this hill that we spent several hours after, and the bear was gone.
That's not discouraging at all.
And we ended up knowing we were in the bear's living room. There was evidence of bear sign everywhere, and this bear had been living there, and I mean there was, all the things that a bear would want.
Sure.
And so we ended up camping up on the side of that mountain because it got dark, and so we're like, well, we're done hunting.
So you just stayed in his living room.
So, yeah, and we actually that time we did pack a tiny bit lighter, so we actually left our shelter and a bunch of other things over on the other side of the river. So we basically slept in a giant bear's living room with no shelter. So I ended up kind of stayed close to the guys. You know what I mean?
You snuggled a
Who
little.
cuddles best?
Right.
That is kind of unnerving to know that just a little bit earlier that bear was hanging out there, and you're going to go to sleep, and he may come back.
And then we didn't know what was going to happen the next morning, which would have made it even scarier.
Okay.
So we slept on the side of this mountain, leveled the thing out again. They did a better job at leveling. I was just so tired. I'd be like, yeah, dude, this will work.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you don't really want to move rocks.
No, right, but it also sucks rolling all night. So that's what I did. And so we got up the next morning, and we thought, hey, this bear's up here. Let's go continue to hunt for this bear.
Right.
And he's worth shooting. And if not, we'll glass across the other side, probably see a giant bear, and then spend all day getting him. So kind of all those things happen. So we go after this bear.
That's good. Foreshadowing.
And it's not an hour or two into the morning, no bear, and maybe an hour. We get up there, we stop, we start to just look around at all the timber, and we're like, man, we probably should start looking for another bear. We might have just blown this guy out. What's going to happen?
Question.
Yeah.
If you or Call had seen the same bear that Ryan had seen the day before, does that change the shooting order?
I don't know what the shooting order is. What I do know is Ryan is he's a processor. You see him on the videos, and Ryan's methodical, and he's smart.
Yeah.
I'm none of those things. So, I always joke, my elk this last season, when Mac and Brenda were up there and we were in the mountains, I passed on this elk he was at 800 yards, and instead of stalking him, I said, I'm going to go try to find a bigger bull. Came out and right at dark all by myself, 10 miles from the truck, saw that bull, 6-point bull at 200 yards, and then all of a sudden he was rolling down the hill, dead.
What just happened?
And I'm like, what did I just do? I just filled my tag. Yeah. So that's the way Adam hunts. I'm like, somehow I loaded one in the chamber, dropped to the floor, rested my gun on the pack, rolled an elk down the hill.
Right.
So Ryan's more like, is that the bear I'm going to shoot? And is this a good angle? And all those things. So
in the meantime, Adam's
so back
killed
to
it.
your question is, I don't know what the rules are, but I might have shot it out from under him. I don't know. I didn't have that opportunity, but I may have just done that.
Yeah, right.
I've been known to do that before.
Somebody's going to kill this bear.
Remember, I was turkey hunting with our former governor, Matt Mead, on that one-shot turkey hunt over there out of Hewlett by Devil's Tower.
Yeah, yeah.
We came up over, and I'm like, hey, let the governor shoot first. I'm telling myself, let the governor. Somehow I got a turkey, and he didn't. I don't know what happened. So I've done it to Brenda. I actually did it to turkeys with Brenda last year, just last September 1. Man. So I'm very. I take the opportunity, bird in hand type of thing. So anyways, back to that. I don't know how that would have scored.
All right.
But I think it had been Ryan's bear, and I probably, as a kind of a guest, I would have let him shot it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So
we're glassing for that bear.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, we're there, and we hear the wind's coming up. We hear wind howling through the trees. And we're like, okay, there's wind howling through the tree. And just whatever, you have that in your mind. And kind of all of us stopped, and we're on the side of the mountain. We start looking at each other, and we're like, is that wind howling, or are those wolves howling?
Oh.
And it switched. There was wind howling through the trees, and then very clearly the wind turned to wolves howling.
Yeah, that's not unnerving.
At which point I realized that I hadn't got a wolf tag in Idaho, of which I was highly discouraged about. And I know you can actually use some tags there and downgrade them and use them for other things, I believe.
You can use elk on a deer.
Right, and stuff like that. Or you can use You can
elk
use
on a
elk on a
bear?
bear,
Elk
I
on a bear,
believe.
yeah.
Don't quote us on these things.
Yep.
Which point I got my in-reach and immediately started in-reaching you
Yeah.
to ask, can I shoot a wolf with the tags that I have? To which you said no.
I did. Yeah, I triple checked. I was like, I was in reach Google basically. I was looking real quick. I even called Game and Fish because it wasn't super clear on the website. So I called Idaho Game and Fish, and the first person was like, "That's a good question. I'm not sure." And they transferred me. I'm like, "Hurry!" If he's asking, I'm guessing there's just a wolf standing there.
Here's the other thing. My inReach. If you've ever used inReaches, had a problem syncing to my phone. First time I've ever had this happen. It was a newer inReach. So I'm doing the scroll right, hit L, left, U to get to Luke. And then, so it's taking me minutes, and there are wolves howling. Long story is I realized I've been in the Idaho wilderness, it wasn't the wilderness in this case, but in Idaho plenty of times to know you always bring a wolf tag.
Yeah.
And then the one time an opportunity presented itself, I wouldn't, which this happened.
That's how it
Now,
goes sometimes.
Ryan Lampers
He had one.
made it very well known to the group he had a wolf tag, and he was fully prepared to use it. And so we didn't call him. Well, what we didn't know is about 120 yards above us on the hill was a dead, rotting elk kill
Oh wow!
Okay.
You slept on an elk kill, basically.
in a bear den and an elk.
Perfect.
In a wolf
Yeah.
infested forest without a shelter. And so this wolf, so basically we're like, hey, what's going to happen? Well, I've heard wolves. I've seen them at distance, and the odds of them coming in to get a shot are just usually very, very slim. So bottom line is we're sitting there, and a large wolf comes in over by that elk kill. We didn't know where it was at, and stands there at 120 yards away, and Ryan smoked him.
No
It
kidding.
was as easy as that.
How long were they visible?
There was only the one wolf. Who I think came to check things out and was kind of clearly doing the thing,
right?
checking out, hey, is this kill worth coming in and getting some leftovers? And it'd been there 30 seconds, but started to kind of walk as soon as it took a step, kind of broadside, and Ryan dropped this very large male wolf.
That's pretty cool.
Obviously, he'd never shot a wolf, and it's a huge kind of deal up
For
there
sure.
in Idaho, and they got a lot of wolf problems, and I know they're even Game and Fish, and I believe folks are doing some things right now to eradicate more wolves.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still doing it. They had a bounty on wolves at one point, even.
Yeah,
so, that's crazy.
So then all of a sudden we're like, well, we were bummed that we spooked the bear out, and that's hunting. And then the next moment we're like, oh, but we
Shot a
got a
wolf.
giant wolf.
How cool is that?
So that was good. I was super stoked for Ryan. That was
So
neat.
worth it to sleep in the bear's den. Absolutely
Yes.
worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're probably putting a video together. Would be my guess, right? That
Correct. Yeah. They'll be putting, I think, films together on both the Idaho and Montana sections of their bear hunts. So depending on when they come out, I think as we are recording this, they're
still
bear hunting in Montana.
Okay.
And so, depending on when we release this and when they come out and when their films are out, I don't know. When I left, I just asked Brian, hey, is it cool if I go back and talk about the hunt? He's like, have fun. We're going to keep hunting. And I'm like, I got a gun factory to go run, so
That's
I'm back
awesome.
out of here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may beat them, but if
Yeah.
you're looking for a picture of the wolf or some information, check out Gritty on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'll be up eventually.
Yeah. They make amazing films. They make Brian does such a good job being back there with him and seeing the quality that he puts into it and the thought. There's YouTube videos and then there's hunting YouTube videos and just the camera equipment they hauled in there was very impressive to haul in there that far and the weight of it and just trying to do some real quality stuff. So utmost respect for Brian and what he does back there. So packing a lot of weight. So every time I was thinking about how much I was packing, I'm like, man, I'm glad I don't have those cameras. So. And I've hunted a lot with film guys that are tough like that, where it's like you have a lot of respect for those guys. They don't get in front of the camera a lot. These guys, they're all in front of the camera, so it's different, but they don't get the credit. They worked hard. So
We got a pretty good film guy here, Mac. Got a great attitude.
I thought he was my elk packer.
Well, he does a lot of things, but yeah.
Elk packer first, camera
Yeah.
guy second.
That's right. Yeah.
So you got a wolf down, or
Yeah.
Pampers has a wolf down.
Yeah.
And then,
Brad and Ryan went on to cape out the wolf, while they were going to do that, there was a knob up on the very top of the hill that so we could exhaust kind of for this bear before we'd leave this area. Brian and I hiked up to the top, so we spent a couple hours away from them, poking around and looking. Didn't see anything. Came back down. It was getting near the end of the day. Then I guess I've been day 3, and we had that wolf, but we'd only seen one bear, and then we couldn't get back on top of it. And it's nearing the end of day 3. And so we went back down, which was still on the top of the hill, but I mean, we were up thousands of feet. So we go back down to kind of where we camped. And we sit down there, and sure enough, Ryan glasses a tank on the other side of the mountain. A ginormously obese bear.
Just one of those pot belly, small leg.
Right.
Yeah.
So we decided to leave that side and traverse all the way back down, and our shelters were back up on the other side of the mountain, and try to get there by dark. And so we went down, went across the river, got back up to our camp at the end of day 3. Whatever, my days get mixed up when you're in the backcountry, but let's call it that for now. And got to camp just about dark. Which wasn't camp, it was just kind of some stuff hanging in a tree. So then we had to.
We're calling
I
this
remember
home
that
now.
night it was about 10:30, and we had rocks out excavating the dirt on 10:30 on the other side of the
Pleasantly
mountain.
back to all that weight that you'd left there, so you could pick it up and take it with you the next day.
Yes, exactly. So we did that. So Ryan and I did usually try to so Brian and Brad would be dinking with their camera equipment a little bit, and then we'd try to pick the more level spot first. I mean, I kind of feel bad saying that, but we usually did that. And in this case, they were probably 50 to 100 yards up the hill because there wasn't even enough for two shelters where we were at. So we had to just kind of the best you could kind of do. And we were making retaining walls with rocks and then getting the dirt and kind of doing that so you could sleep and stuff. So yeah, so we slept that night.
So how's your body feeling at this point? Pretty good?
Yeah, the hike back up that hill that night, I remember they were down at the river doing some stuff, and I said, hey guys, I'm not fast, I'm gonna get a head start on this thing. And they ended up going a different way, which I think was worse. They thought it might be better, and I think it might have been worse. But it was the type of deal when I got to the top of the mountain, my quads were starting to go out, and from the strength standpoint, it was definitely there. And then just keeping your mental game on top and stuff like that. Yeah. The good news is about bear hunting is where unlike most other things where you got to set your alarm for 4:30 in the morning and get up, like when you're elk and deer hunting and you got that early morning grazing time, bears just really love the middle and end of the day. And so kind of the saving grace of the trip was not getting up at dark 30. So at least you can get a little bit of rest.
So it can be hard though once the sun's coming up. For me, if I'm sleeping outside or in a tent, even it starts to get warm when the sun peaks up, which happens early now.
I didn't care.
You're just exhausted.
Yeah, and Ryan's kind of a coffee snob like me, and so we just sip coffee and just soak in the goodness of the morning. It was amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He probably grew the beans. I don't know.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
At the very least, he roasted them.
Yeah. I would actually sometimes use his little pour over little backcountry thing he had just to get the leftover of his beans. So, yeah. So then that next morning we got up and we said, hey, here's probably what we should do. We're getting up on day 4 and we don't have dead bear yet.
Right.
So probably what we should do is do some splitting up.
Yeah, divide and conquer.
So I already knew you spotted, you got it. Ryan was after this bear up on the hill, tank of a bear. And so... well,
if I'm playing you spot it, you got it, I probably don't want to play that game with lampers.
That's correct.
I'm sure Call's really good at spotting game too, but...
Yeah. But Call's video in and doing a lot of different
Lampers
things.
seems like that guy that's just
bear,
bear.
I think
before you've seen
he
anything.
Smells them 3 ridges over, so for sure. And usually when Brian and I are talking, Ryan spots a bear, go figure. So, for every 100 words, Brian says, Lampers probably says, yeah.
That's right.
Brian and I would usually be talking and Ryan would be like, there's a bear. So we decided Brad and I were going to go a different direction. and these guys would go up after here, and we'd glass some new territory. To be honest, we were also going to possibly glass back over to see if that other bear showed back up from 2 days ago that we'd seen too. So we were kind of, that was the plan. Started raining that morning. Those guys left. Ryan and Brian left. And we spotted a bear, different bear, down and across the river, a couple miles away.
Okay.
And across the river. It was like, hope that's a big bear. And it was far away enough, and we saw him for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then lost him. And tried to find him from where we were an hour or two.
But it could just be behind a tree at that distance,
Yeah, there was a lot of timber up there, so we didn't know. Well, in the meantime, we spot a big bear up on the hill behind us where Brian and Ryan were hunting. Rain comes down. Long story short, we hear a gunshot. 10:45, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
In the midst of that rain. And ironically, we'd seen this bear cresting this hillside, this really big bear we'd seen the day before. And they didn't, we're like, but that bear just went over the hill and then they shot. Well, they found another bear on their way to their other bear.
Oh.
Yeah, like
And
you do.
There's bears on bears.
So then they just shot that one. So I'm like, cool, these guys shot a bear, and they might go after the other bear. Let's go get 2 bears. Maybe Brian will go shoot that other one.
Right.
So Ryan shoots a ginormous, beautiful, jet black colored bear. We hadn't seen it.
Right.
We had some in-reach communication to know that, hey, we heard a shot. Everything good? Yep, got a bear now. So it's about all we knew.
Okay.
They didn't know we were watching their bear or anything, the other bear, and we're just all confused. But we're like, whatever, there's gunshots, they got a dead bear.
Dead bear. Awesome.
Let's go after our bear.
Sure.
So we take off downriver and to go try to then get higher so we can perch across and look where maybe directly across where we thought this other one was. And we get up there, we're hiking up, and we get on these rocks, and there's also kind of a draw behind us. And then we thought, okay, well, let's get up there. We can kind of look back on this draw behind us, but we're really looking where we've seen this bear across from us. And so we did, and we're looking for probably about an hour, just looking across, ready for that little jet black streak to pop out somewhere. This bear we'd seen across the river. So ended up seeing a cub that probably was maybe first year away from mama type of deal. There's no mama around, but just a little thing playing on the other side. And we're like, it wasn't the bear we'd seen in the morning. And so we were looking. And afternoon was there, and all of a sudden, Brad kind of turns around and just glances up this draw. Didn't have great visibility, so it just wasn't a lot behind us up this draw. We were perched up on these rocks. And 245 yards away, we were looking like 1,600 yards straight across the draw. Okay. 250 yards away, behind us and up this draw, a cinnamon-colored boar beds broadside, 250 yards away. So all of a sudden, so Brad had kind of, he was positioned where he could see up that draw. The way I was positioned, I was looking more straight ahead, and he had some good position to look back up that. So he, there's the bear, yeah. So he's there, and he's got a bear tag too. And he spotted it. And he was going to be in there twice as long as me because I had to get back and all these things. And he was coming along to help film for these guys. And he just said, Adam, you're gonna shoot that bear, and you're going to shoot it right now. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so it was a gift from Brad. So shout out to Brad, Brad Hunt, for spotting a beautiful bear and let me shoot it, which was super cool. Because I'd spotted the one across, so I actually did spy that one in the morning. So I was kind of like, cool, I actually spotted a bear that I ended up never shooting. And so we see this cinnamon-colored bear behind us, and we get down there, or just from where we were at. We're like, cool, so we don't have to stalk it.
So we don't have to go down and then up. And
So weird. Okay, so probably just go ahead and shoot it right now. So
perfect.
Do some little filming stuff for, that whole thing kind of beforehand, and end up touching off the trigger at 245 yards away.
That's awesome.
And dropping this bear. I ended up shooting more than once, but when we got down there and saw the first shot would have been a definite kill shot. My rule is on bears, and I've heard a lot of stories, and I know, Luke, you've had some evade you. My rule on bears is just keep shooting. And so it was going to roll after that first one kind of got up, and so I ended up poking them again. But yeah, ended up dropping them. So with
gun of choice was? Yeah.
caliber of choice.
Always choosing the fun stuff that we can't talk
I
about.
think if you've listened to this podcast at all, you know that Adam doesn't hunt with anything that's currently in the line. He only likes to shoot the new
I shot an elk fall of 18 with the cartridge that we still haven't come out with yet.
Yeah.
Which was a different one than I shot with this year. My grandfather was a wildcatter, and so we tend to do that. And so, yeah, gun and ammo, yet to be disclosed. I was doing product testing, as I often do, so I can never usually talk about. And if you were to notice, the picture I posted last week didn't show the gun and all that kind of stuff. So it makes it fun but not fun because I can't talk about it yet. But good rule of thumb in business is talk about the things you have to sell.
Yeah.
And we don't sell these yet, so we're not going to talk about it. It's just good business.
Good business.
Good
But we can
business.
tease it a little as we're doing now.
But guys will just get so mad. You know?
Yeah, well, I bet some people are like, wait, you said you hunted with a cartridge 2 years ago that's different from the one now? There's two not out?
I know, but sometimes it takes a long time, or you do revisions, or you end up product testing, and maybe you don't come out with it. So there's always kind of things that happen.
Well, and right now the market's so crazy that it is so hard to develop anything, but especially new cartridges right now, because to slow down loading time to get new brass formed or whatever the case is, it's pretty much
whatever
impossible.
the case is.
You see what I did there? I need that drum thing on my board.
And that's, to be honest, this cartridge I was hoping to have out by now, but because of the brass shortages, all we need to do is launch a cartridge we can't deliver after we can't even deliver on all our back orders currently because of all the shortages in the market. So our goal right now, if you're listening, is for those customers that have guns and ammo on order to please them and to do our best. So we've ramped up production, say it again, ramped up production in guns, ramped up production in ammo to do the best we can for this surging market and demand that's there. So unfortunately, can't tell you about the things yet to come. So, yeah. And if I were to use current cartridges, I'd be using customers' ammo. So I saved a box for a customer.
Look at you.
See? Yeah. So, dead bear.
Dead bear. Mm-hmm. And
It's still, what's funny is, in that country, the 245 yards took forever to get there. Crossed water, down timber, high brush.
Were you shooting down on it? Were you
Yes,
kind of on the level?
Very, very down. Yes. Yeah, I don't know the degree of slope. I can't remember, but it was at 245 yards, it's not going to much matter, but it was, very, very much down where the bear was, because we were perched up high. And that's what's so funny is we were looking across, and then it just, it came up. And I'd never shot a color-faced bear, and so it was just, as much as size, was, important on the bear, it was just a beautiful bear, beautiful black bear. And so ended up going down, had to cross another, not really a river, kind of a creek drainage and that sort of thing, kind of into there, and got down to it, and I couldn't tell where it rolled. You just, with bears, you always kind of walk up on them slowly and
when you're
ready for it.
When it's something that can kill you, you got to approach it with a little bit of caution.
Yeah, but we did, and thing rolled under a log and was dead as can be, and then set up for a couple hours, as we often do, to get a bunch of pictures and kind of drag it out a way where you actually could get a picture, and got a bunch of pictures and caped it out and all that kind of stuff, and it was almost dark by that point. So we did and celebrated. It's a good big bear, big mature boar, cinnamon colored. So I was just thrilled.
Yeah,
thrilled
awesome.
as can be. And Ryan had shot one the same day. We'd already known that, heard their gunshot, knew that went down. They ended up we were too far from them. They didn't hear our gunshots, but because we're downriver from them a ways. But ended up at the end of that day going and packing and hanging the bear meat and and cape and all that kind of stuff down there, so we didn't have to hike that back up, because we were actually closer back to the truck than where our camp was and where they were.
Oh, so you just hung it, and
we hit it there and knew we'd come back and get it. So
cool.
Hiked back at dark to camp with a punched tag. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then you're definitely sleeping in the next day, huh?
Yeah. Yes. So at that point, we had 2 dead bears and a dead wolf. They do have mandatory check-in requirements in the state of Idaho, like they do most states, for predators. And so at that point, we knew it'd be in about 5 days. We'd actually packed 5 days of food and so forth. They were going to go in for another 5. I had just had 5 planned for the hunt. With work and kids' schedules and other things, knew that's about all I could do. So that basically that 5th day was just getting their bear, getting my bear, and getting out. But somehow we got back we were hiking out at dark.
It's always hiking out at dark. That's how it works.
I don't know why that was, but we hiked out at dark.
Did you track how many miles you did?
You know what, I did, like I had on my Garmin watch and my Onyx, but I didn't add it up. To be honest, the miles per thousands of feet climbed would be what would probably tell the story more. Yeah. I've done a lot of hunts with more miles, but it's definitely steep country in there. So
no doubt.
Yeah, but so we ended up packing camp and the bears. Everybody, we all kind of helped to get camp out in one load, which was pretty cool. So,
which is a feat because you got camp, what you came in with, plus 2 bears and a wolf.
Correct. Yeah. So no doubt heavy. Last 3 miles is on a kind of a trail by a river. So last 3 miles we're doing that. We had thought about trying to use these e-bikes that Brian keeps in his trailer, but for a number of reasons, including we were separate from Brian. He had the keys to the truck and trailer, wasn't with us, and that kind of he's like, always leave him, somewhere where we can find him, and didn't, and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, couldn't do that, and it was just too brushy and too kind of nasty, even though it actually, we looked, would have been legal where we were, but wouldn't have worked out. So anyways, didn't do that, and packed out, and what's funny was my whole time I'm like, hey, I didn't roll my ankle, and my left ankle just has some ligaments that are gone, and it's just, if I pack too much weight after too much time, it will. And sure enough, I'm hiking, and Ryan and Brad are behind me, and directly right behind me. We're just hiking in a line, and I'm thinking to myself, Kate, you got to think the way you step, because you can roll an ankle. You got a lot of weight on your back. And 3/4 of a mile from the truck, last day at night, Adam just hits the floor.
Oh no!
Just
took a digger.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, where'd Adam go? It's like he's laying on the ground right ahead of us. And so so made it through the whole hunt up till.
Well, if you're going to do it, I guess that's
10 minutes from the truck.
10 steps from the truck might be better.
A lot better than way up on the mountain.
Yeah, or on the way in.
A lot better.
Yeah,
and it always happens in the trail, it seems like to me, because you're really concentrating on your foot placement. You can get just a little rock just wrong. And I lace up my boots tight. I try to do everything I can. We use trekking poles, all that kind of stuff, and still hit the deck. But made it back. It's been swollen this past week, but made it back. So,
man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, talk just a little more about when you got back. You were just kind of like, man, these guys were so prepared. I know they had the truck, but
sure.
How did they meal plan? Did they just use Heather's Choice and Mountain House, or what'd they have?
They had some Heather's Choice and stuff like that, but really did a lot of their own. Ryan had a lot of his own meals. He has a dehydrator and a freeze dryer, so he's doing really a lot of his own meals in the evening. Even some different meals for the morning. He had some freeze dried eggs and sausage and things that he'd made up literally from his chickens and eggs, and had done that with his freeze dryer. And so but it was so it was really well thought out and prepared, and how many days they have, and then of course restocking back at the truck and trailer and the food they have. But it's amount of days. Hey, if we're bringing 5, we're bringing 5 days, and they don't want to bring more, don't want to bring less, and know how much they're packing in. And so just really aware of ultra lightweight gear, and knowing when you're going in for that much. I mean, they just didn't matter if it was soles for the inside of your boots. They have everything dialed. And so over the years, they've just figured out, they use their Peaks trekking pole. And when they do that, it's like, man, we've broke some carbon fiber ones, all aluminum, or a little bit heavy. So we got this combo, carbon fiber, aluminum. It's like every piece of gear they dialed in. Yeah. And so it was
very
just
intentional.
Completely dialed, very intentional, down to every brand, down to every product that they use. Yep. So, hunting with the Weatherby backcountry, Mark V backcountry, and TI, and they'd taken down a lot of bears at that 6.5 RPM, which is what they were using this trip. And so they're super dialed in on all those things. Ryan's pre-tripping and scouting and on Xing and Google Earth and is really second to none, and really kind of doing a lot of all the pre-scouting stuff. So I think, really impressed, honestly, with that. So, you see guys on film, and I've hunted with a lot of folks that do films, and I can just honestly say these guys are the real deal. They're tough as nails when they're back in there, both physically and their preparedness, mentally tough. Just really, they're the real deal. I mean, they were going to go into Montana super far to go after this bear Ryan's after that he didn't get last year. I mean, going to take a couple days to get
multiple days to get to where
where it is, and they're packing rafts that they can use at times to get across places and rivers and bodies of water. They got to pre-scout, get permits, all this kind of stuff ahead of time for the forest. And so there's these guys are working hard. So when you watch their content and you're impressed by it, there's a lot of thought, that really goes into the things. And so that was cool. We were talking to them like, it's sure we can get sponsored by different products or commission from various things. But he's like, man, working with Weatherby, like when you came out with this backcountry like this is like the name of the game for us. And so, it's neat to see, like, if that rifle was built for anybody, it was built for those guys, the way that they use it.
Yeah, the way that they hunt, and the way that, I mean, like you said, every piece of gear matters for them. There's a reason why they have a certain insole over another insole. So, I think that the Mark V Backcountry TI is like tailor-made for guys that hunt like that, no question.
Yeah. Yep, it absolutely was. So, so it was, you always learn stuff and you take things away whenever you hunt with anybody. So hunting with those guys was super fun. Hadn't hunted with them yet. And, with the Hush guys or Meat Eater, other people we work with, and when you tend to hunt with somebody, you just get to tend to know them too, and great talks on the side of a mountain and friendships formed and all that kind of stuff. That's, it's equally as important. You want to share the backcountry with dudes that you want to be with and you enjoy conversations with, and you're talking about family and all the things that really matter and stuff too. So that was fun too. So
with so many intentionally chosen items that they pack, do you find anything that you decided the moment you got back you had to buy?
They use these sheep feet custom insoles, and
sheep feet.
And I thought, I'm gonna maybe give those a peek. And that a go that I'm not using. Man, trying to think of other stuff. I mean, I've dialed some things in, over the years. So I spent plenty of time in the backcountry. So definitely have my stuff. But I think a lot of it's just really the organization that really helps you when you're there to stay, rather than rummaging through your bag and just looking for stuff. I mean, ton of the little zip pocket, little stuff sacks for everything, and really just that ultra organization. So sometimes I feel like, searching through a shopping cart.
Sometimes I feel like it's a yard sale in the backcountry when I'm looking for my toothbrush or something.
Yes, correct. So I think really the organization hit me, that when you can kind of be efficient. I mean, we're in manufacturing and we try to have our factory floor like that. And, and so in the same way when you're there, I think it's important.
Well, I know Lampers and Call Together, I think, are doing a series this summer where they're going to do some classes on how they do what they do.
Summit, they call it.
The Summit, exactly. So check that out. I think there's info on that.
I don't know if it's full or not. I'm not sure.
It may be full. I was actually just looking. I was trying to see, but
cool.
And I couldn't find it. But
I don't know.
They know what they're doing, so it probably did fill up pretty quick.
They really, really, really know what they're doing, and the stuff that they have at those classes. I mean, they do have pre-trip planning of how to, scour Google Earth and do all those things, down to tons of, the food stuff. They have a lot of shooting stuff. They're gonna have some backcountries up there, that people are gonna be able to shoot. So they really, really have a lot of that stuff dialed in. Pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
It's cool to be able to, we look at people we partner with, and it's like. It's neat to, go with folks like that you go, man, these, could put a lot of time into their hunt. Like sometimes I'm like, man, you must really not like bears.
You put a lot of effort into shooting these bears. I think what's interesting, Adam, maybe we can kind of wrap up with this, is we were talking right when you got back, because it was a physically demanding hunt.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you don't often equate spring bear hunting to like just absolute grueling physical activity.
Sure.
Mac and Micah had a very physically grueling time. You did. It's weird that we don't prepare necessarily for that. And it's hard to even think about it because you come straight out of winter and you go into spring.
That's the hardest part about spring bear hunting. So by the time fall, mid-October gets around and you're a rifle elk hunt, I've been backpacking in the summer. I've been hiking all fall. You come out of a Wyoming winter, like
we're all like, our arms are so white.
Yeah.
Haven't seen sun in so long.
Vitamin D major deficiencies and different things. So yeah, and that's the thing too. Even with those guys, even their supplements and all those things. I mean, it's just like, dude, they just got everything dialed. They don't want to be deficient. They don't want anything to inhibit them. Yeah. So it's just like, they're pre-workouts and different things. I mean, Brian's telling me, I'm putting 50-pound packs on and going doing this. So in order to do it at the level they do it for the length of time they do it at, you can't hop off the Wyoming winter and just expect to hit the trails.
So you were with them for 5 days?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they basically went in for another 15 after that?
Yeah, they went in for another 5. I believe Brian shot a bear. Yeah. Spoiler alert there. And then I believe as we speak, they, depending again when this comes out, but they're in Montana, and so they're just going in for more. So we checked the bears and the wolf in with game fish guy there, stuff like that. They age it out and see how that is. So. It's always exciting to take a wolf in instead of a bear, so it's fun. But,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, Adam, thanks for sharing the story. Yeah. I personally loved hearing it. I'm headed into the Bear Woods in 2 days, so I'm getting pumped. Yeah. The Wyoming season opens a bit later than Idaho, so we don't open until May 15, and we'll be in there
probably
for the
it's
opener.
Frozen tundra around here. Bears are in their dens for a little longer.
But I'm extra pumped now to get in there. And if you want to learn more about this hunt, you can find out, like we said before, from Gritty. They'll be putting a great video together, and they do a fantastic job. Their last spring bear series was phenomenal. So I expect this will be the same. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure you've signed up for our email newsletter as well, just so we have a great way to get in touch with you. So thanks for listening.